Let's have ourselves a little fun today. Early Saturday morning, it is currently 6:13 in the morning. Have not gone to sleep yet, and I was in the middle of editing other videos, kind of watching back some games, the two games that happened last night. And I was like, you know what would be a fun video to do? Like, what's my favorite player from each NHL team? Because as I've watched more games and kind of tried to be a little bit less East Coast focused and try to watch all the possible teams I can the past couple years, it's not that Bruins aren't my favorite team anymore, but you do have certain guys you root for. So on this list, it's going to be kind of a combination of probably the best players, but also some players I just like the story behind or just aspects of their game. And we'll start with the Anaheim Ducks. In my heart, the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. I'm going to go with Frank Vatrano. Frank Vatrano, to me, is a player, kind of a middle six guy, had a hat trick, he has 3 goals. He's on pace for 82 goals this season. Not saying he gets it, I'm just saying it's a possibility. But Frank Vatrano is a guy that's persevered through a lot in his career. You know, he came into Boston, went down to Florida, was it? And kind of found a good role there with the Ducks eventually. And I really like Frank Vatrano. Has a hell of a shot. And while he might be a little bit limited in some parts of his game, he's just a personal favorite of mine. And I always wish him to do well wherever he goes. Next team, we're going to go alphabetical. The Arizona Coyotes, Vejmelka. Vejmelka was, when he came onto the scene for the Arizona Coyotes, it was kind of out of nowhere. And I understand the Coyotes weren't a great team, but I just fell in love with the story of this guy who was over in Europe. I believe it was Russia at the time. And comes over kind of out of nowhere, like I said, and performs pretty well considering on the poor team he's been on. It seems like he started off pretty good thus far this season. And he's a guy I just hope the Coyotes have a good season. And just especially for guys like him that have been kind of through it at those lowest points. Like him and Keller just stand out to me as those guys. So yeah, he is my personal favorite for the Coyotes. Next team, the Boston Bruins. Brad Marchand. Now, there's a lot I can name on this list. I like pretty much all the Bruins players, and Johnny Beecher is earning a special place in my heart, which I feel good for that kid. First round pick. Some people, he's a bust, but if he becomes a viable NHL option at the fourth line, I mean, he looks really good. So, you know, my heart, I hope this guy has a great career. But Brad Marchand, man, he's been with the franchise for so long. I remember watching, because I was a season ticket holder for the Providence Bruins for a while, him down in Providence, and he was just, he always had that aspect of his game, which I think gets him in trouble at times, a little tenacity, gritty, and he does a little bit of goofy stuff at times, but Brad Marchand's currently my favorite, even though it's hard to choose with the Bruins, to be fair. As for the Buffalo Sabres, the next on this list, Tage Thompson. He's like a physical freak. He's huge, really good speed, good agility, great hands. He's just an insane physical specimen, and he's a lot of fun to watch. Now, it's very difficult when he plays the teams of your favorite teams, I should say, like my Bruins, but I kind of hope the best for this guy. He really kind of gives Buffalo that superstar talent up front, and he's just a lot of fun to watch when he's on his game. Next on this list for the Calgary Flames, like I said, it's going to mixture great players, kind of players I just have a personal bias with, I guess. Markstrom. I know it's not been ideal for him at times with his stay with the Calgary Flames, but I have a massive amount of respect for a guy that, like in Florida, they gave up on him. Went to Vancouver, struggled there, kind of found his game late, rounded into form, and got himself a lucrative contract in the Flames. I mean, the first year was okay. Second year was Vezina discussion type numbers. I'm hoping he has a bounce back year because his story is just so great. Like a guy overcoming a lot of stuff, people doubting him, and becoming one of the better goalies in the NHL. I'm hoping for his sake, I'm hoping he can kind of get back on that track. For the next team, the Carolina Hurricanes. I'm a little bit tired. Svechnikov. A lot of fun to watch. Bigger winger from Russian. I'm a little bit biased with some of these Russian wingers. They're just a lot of fun to watch. He's got some good physicality to his game. And I do think if he was in that playoff run, I know he got injured, but if he was with the Carolina Hurricanes during that playoff run, I'm not saying they win that series. I do think they maybe win a game or two because I think he's a very productive offensive weapon and could develop into something even greater than that. Next team, the Chicago Blackhawks. It's a small sample size. Some of y'all might expect Bedard. He's a lot of fun to watch. But I like a good young defenseman. Kevin Gorchinski. Him and Vlasic was kind of between them two. I just 19 years old, NHL level. The team's solid. They're overperforming, in my opinion, right now, and I hope they overperform the whole season. I think that's great for Chicago fans. But I really like some aspects of his game. I think there's some nice pieces. I think he's pretty solid defensively, a very good puck mover. And if he keeps developing, he should be a steady NHL D-man for years to come. I like his game quite a bit, especially when you go watch the film. I think he's going to be a player that you're going to have to look out for in the next few years. I think he's got a lot of potential. The next one, Colorado Avalanche. Nathan MacKinnon. I know it's kind of easy. Second best player in the world to a lot of people, myself included. The guy is worth the price of admission. Filthy hands, great speed, a very tenacious personality. You know, if you're eating cookies on his team, he's going to smack it out of your hand and like, here's some vegan stuff. Here's some vegan options. That guy's all about winning. And yeah, he brought the Avalanche a cup. He is one of the best players on the planet. And it's just fun when you watch an Avalanche game and he just gets into that motion where he starts going north and south and just weaving in between guys. Man, it's incredible to watch. Next one on this list, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Werenski, the defenseman. Werenski, young, still pretty young defenseman. One of the better defensemen in the league when he's healthy. Last season, I think we only played like 13, 14 games. He's very good. And he's somebody you can build around. He's a cornerstone of your franchise for the Columbus Blue Jackets. And I could have gone with guys like Gaudreau, maybe Patrick Laine, but Werenski to me is like a heart and soul type guy that you would love to have in your organization, so I'm going to go with him. The Dallas Stars. Local bias here, Ottinger. I like Jake Ottinger quite a bit. I think he's a fantastic goalie who's just going to keep getting better as he develops. And watching him play for Boston University, watching him play at the pro level, he's a good player, and I think the sky is the limit for him as well. If he keeps, goaltenders coming to their form around 26 and older, I think he'll be in that discussion of top 8, top 5 goaltenders in the NHL, whether it be right now or really soon. The Detroit Red Wings is the next one. Dylan Larkin. I respect a guy that's been with an organization for such a long time. He's the captain of that team. Kind of a bit underrated. I think a very good two-way center. Is he a McDavid, or is he like a guy that's just going to put up a million goals like Austin Matthews? I wouldn't go that far. But he's solid in both ends, and he's a great leader. I think he's perfect for that Detroit team that's trying to turn things around and become relevant again. So yeah, Dylan Larkin for me, he's just a lot of fun to watch. And yeah, he's good two-way, but he's got some good offensive punch as well. Edmonton Oilers, this is kind of easy. McDavid, I mean, just some of the stuff he does on the ice is insane. And it's crazy. Like, the speed he has. I went to the Garden, was it a year or 2 years ago? I remember going to a game in person, seeing him skate. And it's just, the TV doesn't do it justice how fast he is. Or maybe, I think it would have been with the Rangers. Regardless. When I was watching him in live, it's just insane. He's so damn fast. It's incredible to watch. And he's one of these players that is considered the greatest right now in this generation for a reason. He's just disgusting. So much talent. And he'll eventually be in that discussion of greatest of all time if he can win some cups. Next team here, the Florida Panthers. I mean, Tkachuk. Some people do not like Tkachuk because he's kind of a jerk, right? Oh, he's kind of a jerk. He's mean, but I love it. He's got a little bit of snarl to his game, physical, goal scoring ability. He's got that it factor to him. I know that sounds corny, but just that it. He's that player that you hate to play against, would love to have on your team. Really, I think Tkachuk is just a lot of fun to watch. I had a lot of fun in those playoffs just watching him really jaw at people and then end up scoring game-winning goals. Tkachuk's a special player. As for the next team, the Los Angeles King, Kopitar. While Bergeron was the greatest two-way center, arguably in NHL history, Kopitar, if Bergeron didn't exist, I think Kopitar has like 3 or 4 more Selkies. Kopitar is just right there. And when you look at the career comparables, he's a Hall of Famer. He really is. He's very good offensively, very good at his own end, big, physical, strong center, somebody that Byfield should be able to continue to learn from. Kopitar is a great leader on that LA Kings team. I love his game quite a bit, and he's still very effective too. It's not like age is creeping up and deteriorating his game. He's still a very, very solid producer. Next team, the Minnesota Wild. Like I said, I like them Russians. Kaprizov. He came into the NHL, pretty young, and has just improved every year. Hopefully he stays healthy. He's an exciting young player, and I think he can hit another gear. That's the type of player you want to build around if you are a Wild fan. And he's a lot of fun to watch. I really like his game quite a bit. Next team, the Montreal Canadiens. I love myself. I love myself some Wi-Fi. He is insane. I know it's Arbor Jacki. Probably going to butcher the pronunciation of that because I'm exhausted. But he's so much fun. He's not the greatest defenseman in the world, but he's really good, and he's physical, and he's not afraid of anyone. He's like a throwback, and he's a perfect mixture of like a modern defenseman with a little bit of old school. Like when he got into that fight with Reeves, I'm like, man, only this dude just has the cojones to do that. I love his game. I wish he was a Bruin. I really do. He's so much fun to watch. I love his game. For me, Wi-Fi is one of the more enjoyable defensemen to watch in the NHL just because of the physicality and everything with it. The next team, the Nashville Predators. That's going to go for Saros for me. Short goalie, short king. They've proven you don't have to be 6'10" to be a good goalie at the NHL level. Saros I like a lot too. Very good, very steady. Insane lateral quickness. Now, his numbers this season, I know he had a good game against the Rangers. He only let up 1 goal. His stats might not look great, but when you actually watch the film, it wasn't really on him. It was just some really horrific defensive breakdowns. Saros is still a top 5 goalie in the NHL, and he's a lot of fun to watch. And it's kind of crazy because in Nashville, they have Askarov just waiting in the wings as well. They have crazy depth. Like Saros, Lankinen, Askarov. But Saros to me, he is always going to be in that Vezina discussion, and kind of bunked that stereotype that you had to be over 6'2" or 6'3" to be successful at the NHL level, which is just good to see. Honestly, you don't. It's just nice to see people break molds. Kind of break certain. How would I put this? Stereotypes or something in regard. I'm a little bit out all over the place. I apologize. New Jersey Devils. Jack Hughes. A lot of fun to watch. Offensive insanity, like so creative in the offensive zone. It was between him and Bratt, because Bratt's got a nasty shot as well, but I'll go with Hughes. I like his game quite a bit. Some might argue, he's kind of small. Like, who gives a crap? He's just a lot of fun to watch. Some of the deking and handling and creative plays he makes. He's a lot of fun, and the NHL needs more players like him, in my personal opinion. The New York Islanders, Sorokin. Guy's a workhorse, one of the better goalies. I think a little bit underrated in that goalie conversation due to being with the Islanders. I don't know if it's just because the Islanders are like that forgotten stepchild. I'm not being mean here. I'm just being honest. I feel like people just forget about the Islanders at times. Sorokin is one of the best goalies on the planet. And, you could argue him and Shesterkin are kind of like 1A, 1B when you look at the statistics. And I think Sorokin is of that caliber. He's an elite goalie at the NHL level. As for the New York Rangers, I was tempted to go with Shesterkin, but I went with K'Andre Miller. I love me some K'Andre Miller. Physical, good offensive instincts, strong. He is like, he's one of these guys that I know Adam Fox is there. He's their number one defenseman, but he's one of these guys that I think will develop eventually into like a number one quality guy. I think he's got all the attributes you want from a number one defenseman on your organization. I think the Rangers have some good defensive depth this year. He's physical. He's got some good offensive side to his game, and he's just very well-rounded. I'm a big fan of him. He's extremely good with taking away time and space, and he's really good with poke checking and like stick checking. When you watch him quite a bit, there's some things that might not end up in highlights, but it's just like, damn, that was just a smart play. That was just a good play, which I like about K'Andre Miller. And he's young, so I think he's going to keep getting better as time goes on. For the Ottawa Senators, Stützle to me, one of the best young centers in the game. The Ottawa Senators got themselves a hell of a draft pick. He is perfect for that organization. He is going to be a guy that scores 100 points multiple times throughout his career. And they were kind of in a transition period. Like, I know Daniel Alfredsson was like the face of the Senators for so many years, and then it was Carlson after that. I think Stützle is going to be this guy. I think if Ottawa is smart, they lock him out for a very long time. He's the type of guy you want to build your franchise around, personally. Philly, guy that's kind of, Carter Hart, young goaltender, still has a lot of promise, shows some really good flashes, and when he's on and a team is actually playing defense in front of him, he shows exactly why he was so highly regarded when he came out of juniors. I think Carter Hart's a fantastic goalie. I know there's been some, bumps and bruises on the path to the NHL, or during the path to the NHL, I should say. But yeah, Carter Hart for me is my favorite in Philly, and I'm hoping he knocks it out of the park this year. I'm hoping he has a terrific year. For the Pittsburgh Penguins, Sidney Crosby. Pretty easy decision. He's an amazing player. Some people could say he's top 5 NHL player when he retires, and you could easily make that argument. It's a shame with Crosby in this regard, because of all the head injuries, like with the concussions and other injuries throughout his career. He could have had far more games played already. When you look at his point per game pace, it's insane. He's one of the highest in NHL history. Sidney Crosby is not just good offensively, though. Very good with stick checking, stick lifting, two-way center. Great playmaker. He's famously known for his amazing backhand. Sidney Crosby's he's the perfect center. He really is. He's got everything you'd want in a franchise guy. And that's a guy for me that if I'm Connor Bedard, I look at that guy's game and I try to model it as much as I possibly can. I know we have a lot of new phenoms like McDavid, has come throughout, like Draisaitl, but let's not forget the greatness of Sidney Crosby. You hate playing against him, but you cannot disrespect the greatness this guy is all about. Next team for me, the San Jose Sharks. It would be Hertl. Been there for many years. I think he's still a very good player, just in a really bad situation. I kind of feel bad for him in that sense. Duclair kind of was close on my list because I liked what he did for the Florida Panthers, but I went with a guy that's been there a little bit longer. I think Hertl, considering the tough situation he's in, I hope he has a good season. And for him, I don't think he'll have his best statistical season, but I'm hoping for him he does well. I think Hertl's been a mainstay there for so many years, and he's a lot of fun to watch. Seattle Kraken. This one was tough, because I'm like, could I go with Grubauer because that amazing playoff run? But I'm like, nah, don't be cheap. Don't be cheap. I'm going to go easy, actually. I'm going to go with Beniers. Beniers is, he's a very good young center. And you're probably noticing a trend. I like centers. I like Russian wingers, it seems like. And I like goalies. But, it is what it is. Matty Beniers is the perfect guy to build around in Seattle. And then with Shane Wright, whatever he develops into, I think either if he's a third line, maybe hopefully a second line. That's what you're hoping with Shane Wright. But they have some good center depth there in Seattle, and having Beniers as a guy to build around just is a very bright future for the Kraken for sure. St. Louis Blues. This is going to be an unexpected pick, and I'll fully admit this is a completely biased one. I'm going to go with Kevin Hayes. He is an amazing human being. That family is amazing. What they do for the local community, how giving, how caring. They'll go play I will fully admit this isn't all about on ice performance, but this selection, they're good people, and I root for, fortunately brother passed away, but I rooted for wherever the brothers went. I rooted for them because as human beings, they were great. And anyone that's ever interacted with them, I've had some few friends that played with South Shore Kings. They have nothing but good things to say about him. Really, nothing but good things to say about him. And he's my personal favorite. Next team, Tampa Bay Lightning, the long stay, Stamkos. Stamkos has been there for a while. Stamkos is a guy that when he's on, he's just insane to watch. And when Stamkos was younger in his prime, he's a guy you had to put a guy or two on. He was just insane. And it's not like he's washed at this point in his career. I think some injuries have been kind of unfortunate and kind of taken away some games and some points from him. But yeah, Stamkos to me is a favorite. And yeah, it's a division rival, but I like seeing when Stamkos kind of buries the puck. I'm hoping he gets another 40-goal season here. He's really a great player. As for the next team, the Toronto Maple Leafs, I'm going to go with Austin Matthews. Wow, shocker, Austin Matthews. Listen, Maple Leaf fans, I get it. You see the Bruins thing. We hate each other. Listen, I like some of your players. I like a lot of your players on that team. I think the Maple Leafs have a pretty solid roster. I think there's some tweaks they probably should make, but it's a whole different video. But Matthews is, would you say, arguably the best USA-born player right now? I think he is. I think he's the best US-born player. And he's still, in my opinion, I guess to me, still relatively young. Good center, great goal-scoring potential. He's one of these guys I could imagine scoring 70 one day. I could imagine him scoring 70. He is that prolific. He started off pretty hot to begin this season. It'd be incredible if he could hit 60, 70 goals, but Matthews is so good goal scoring wise. I could maybe one day see him getting 70 and possibly having 60 goals a couple more times throughout his career. For the Vancouver Canucks, this is, Boston College is, my team for Division I hockey. So I'm going to go with Demko. Demko had some injury issues thus far and kind of got shut down last season. But he's a lot of fun to watch. He's had a pretty good start to the season, and I'm hoping he has a bounce back year. He was phenomenal for the Eagles, and I think he's going to be phenomenal for the Canucks when he gets a good team around him, which it seems like for Vancouver. I know it's early, but it does seem like the tides are changing there, right? So Demko is my personal favorite. He has good athleticism, pretty good lateral quickness, bigger guy, and just I think he does have that dog in him, and should eventually be towards the top end of the league. He should be in Vezina discussions. I'm hoping. He's my dark horse. This is going to sound crazy, I know. He's my dark horse for a Vezina type win. And y'all can roast me for that. I get it. It's complete bias, but I think he's a phenomenal goalie when everything is clicking and when he's healthy. Next team, the Vegas Golden Knights. Adin Hill. Great story as well. Won the Vegas Golden Knights a Stanley Cup. Yeah, there's not much I can really hate about Adin Hill at all. You go from the Arizona Coyotes, you were looked at as okay, you're going to be the future, big goalie, big physical traits. Didn't really work out. Goes to San Jose Sharks. Had a pretty solid year there for the Sharks. Then eventually gets to the Vegas Golden Knights organization. And, Leonard went down, Thompson went down, Brossoit went down, and so he eventually got the chance to play. And Adin Hill just knocked it out of the park, secured himself a bag. And, Logan Thompson and Adin Hill are a top 5 tandem in the NHL. You could say number 2, you could say number 1. But yeah, I really like Adin Hill's game and just kind of the story of him kind of being looked at as how would I put this? Like, kind of pushed aside, like, yeah, just wasted goods, just nothing there to him, and then he just kind of revitalized his career with an amazing Stanley Cup run. The next team here, the Washington Capitals, that's Alexander Ovechkin. Ovechkin's one of my personal favorite players of all time. We can have a discussion where he ranks all time, but when you need a goddamn goal and you need a one-timer, Alexander Ovechkin always comes through. Always. He was so much fun to watch. I loved Alexander Ovechkin. He was terrific throughout his career, and it's kind of unfortunate to see the team he's on now, but you just can't deny the greatness of Ovi. And for the last team on this list, the Winnipeg Jets, and that's going to be another goaltender, Hellebuck. Longtime fixture there with the Jets. One of the best goalies in the NHL. Always in the Vezina discussion. Won a Vezina. He's fantastic. That's why so many teams were interested in acquiring him when there was a rumored like trade request out of Winnipeg. Yeah, Hellebuck is that guy that is a franchise goaltender that you should win at least one Stanley Cup with. Now, it depends on the team you fall on, right? Like Henrik Lundqvist, in my opinion, is a goalie that should have won a Stanley Cup. He was fantastic, but it does depend on where you land. But with the Winnipeg Jets having Hellebuck, they always have a chance, at least a chance, a fighter's shot to go deep in the playoffs and maybe surprise some people. But this was my list of my favorite player of each team in the NHL. It is a 6:40 in the morning. I'm probably not going to edit, just going to put this straight up. Let me know who your favorite players from each team are. That'd be interesting to see in the comment section down below. This was just fun, kind of random idea. I'll have more videos coming out today, but I was kind of sitting on this. I'm like, why the fuck? Like, why not? It sounds fun. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm Captain Paul. I'll see you in the next one.